والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. شهد الله أنه لا إله إلا هو عليه توكلت وهو رب العرش العظيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. سمعنا وأطعنا غفرانك ربنا وإليك المصير. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك ونشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. اللهم يا ربي بجاه سيدنا محمد بن عبد الله صلى الله عليه وسلم اجمع بيني وبين سيدنا محمد بن عبد الله صلى الله عليه وسلم في دنيا قبل الآخرة. Alhamdulillah, we begin in the praise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through hamd and through the shukr in His remembrance of His sifat, the rahmah, the kindness and the mercy that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us this ability again to be in the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, undoubtedly very undeserved too. That what is it in particularly special in our lives that we have done. And we also send peace and salutation upon the best of creation, Sayyidina Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam. It is through their noble guidance and their indeed bestowment from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that they are the mercy to mankind. They have indeed shown us the clear path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and without any shadow of a doubt, if followed correctly, a person will obtain salvation in this life and in the next life too. You see, I began with two verses. One was with the verse regarding placing one's trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You recite this in your morning azkar, Surah Tawbah. The second part that I recited was Sami'na wa ata'na ghufranaka rabbana wa ilayka al-masir, in Surah Al-Fatiha, in Surah Baqarah. That when you follow this guidance, Allah clearly says Sami'na wa ata'na, to hear and obey. You see, this was as described by the Mashayikh. It is almost Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala telling you to rid yourself of your own nafs, your own desire, your own thought, your own feelings, to get rid of this. You see, the downfall of every single person does not start from external means. It does not start from external means. It is always the internal self, meaning the lower self, to be more precise and to be more specific to that. It is the nafs. The nafs will actually cause a person to wither away from the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And those of you who are on the group, even yesterday I put a message out there, and again it's a reminder for myself too, that I put a message out about do not miss your one-to-one, the consultation with one's mentor, with one's teacher, with one's sheikh. Why? And I also provided an explanation to this, and it is the exact same explanation Hazrat gave to us many years ago. That when is it your doctor will ring you and say, Aap theek ho? Is your health okay? And I also use the word premeditated. Why? Is because sometimes the doctor, say you're already ill patient, doctor might ring up, you've got regular weekly visits, or you've got some scheduled visit or something like this. Doctor will arrange for this to happen. But then there's the other side, is that someone who does not regularly go to doctors, or who does not have any illness, and all of a sudden he falls ill, and then he rings the doctors. I know today may be difficult to get hold of doctors, or they have online consultation, or just to try to see as many people as possible. This is similar in the spiritual world too, that you have to yourself, you have identified some issue, you have to yourself call the doctor, the nurse, the hospital, A&E, whatever, and make some type of consultation that I have some illness inside me. And just similarly on the spiritual path, what happens is you will need to contact the sheikh, the mentor, however way possible. You contact them and you tell them about your state. You tell them that I am struggling, I am suffering on the path, or maybe there's something going on, maybe internally I'm not aware of, and then they can further diagnose you and check you. You see, all of these things lead on to one greater picture. It is all part of our story. It's all part of where we are, who we came from, what we're doing on this world. And then you follow up, the process. You live in, it's like the last time I spoke about, you're in this dunya, you're being tested, and thereafter you're in the barzakh. This time I just wanted to highlight and touch upon these. It won't be long as such, because you see, when the topic is made bigger, then we have to go into more detail. So whatever little we understand, alhamdulillah, we take this away and we act upon this, and this is sufficient for us, inshallah. When you reach the station of Yawm al-Qiyamah, where a person will be brought forth and his hisab kitab will get done by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through the means of malaika, through different means, through different intermediaries. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make this arrangement for you. And like we talked about last time, the one aspect about the hisab al-lisan, the questioning of the usage of one's tongue, how one uses how one is in their speech, how one is in their gentleness, how one is in their conduct in terms of how they speak to somebody else, how they consult with others. How is this calculated, should we say? The next part that the Mashaykh will talk about in this topic is that there will be a time where there will be a portion of Day of Judgment, people who are sinful will be shackled. Their hands and feet will be shackled, almost the chain is actually described in some details. Their left hand will be tied to their right leg, and their right arm will be tied to their left leg, almost like a cross. You see, and nowadays they might put your hands behind your back, depending. They always judge on how dangerous you are. If you're not much of a threat, they might, and they're fearful, you might actually run away. They'll put it at the front. But if they think that you're actually more of a danger, meaning the police here, they'll put your hands behind your back, maybe restrain you further to prevent you from escaping. But in this time, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not fearful of you, or there's no concern about you running away. Where are you going to go? There's nowhere to run, there's nowhere to hide at this time. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts you in this position, you cannot even move. You're almost still like a statue in one place, your left hand to your right leg, your right arm to your left leg. Imagine this position, it's unthinkable. There the angels will be positioned to then move a person from place to place. But there will be a time in between this part where the malaika actually move a person. And this is highlighted in the Kitab Al-Ibriz by Sayyidina Abdul Aziz the this scene of the Day of Judgment. You'll be brought forth and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will stop everybody. And what we would feel as heat at that time, meaning the sinner, what he would know to be very hot, all of a sudden it will become cold. And you will feel a sudden change in the temperature. It's so well described by our Mashaykh. And when you read this, it's almost like they have already experienced and seen this. Such is the description. It is like you're reading something from a fictional book, from a non-fictional book. You see that when you read this, understand this, you think that only this person must have experienced and witnessed this. It's like a diary, like a log. And then they mention the temperature will go from a very hot to a very low temperature. They will see the ice forming from a person's sweat. So they know how you get the description of a person where they will sweat so much, they will begin to drown in the sweat. And they actually gave a description about this too, that this sweat will start to freeze. It will start to freeze, and you will become even more still at the state. Such is the state, how they described it, that one's eyes will become frozen. Even you cannot even move your eyelid. Such is this level of freezing. And at that time, it is when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, through the means of malaika, will start to ask people 5 questions will be asked on this time. Will be asked at this time. Each and every single person, even those who are not in this state of punishment, even they will be questioned to some extent. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, do not move a soul until these 5 questions are asked. And it is the very beginning of the Hisab Kitab, as they like to understand it. And it is something that not only we can understand of Hisab Kitab on the Day of Judgment, but Hisab Kitab of this life as well. Meaning, how do we take responsibility for our actions in this life? The first question that the Malaika will ask a person is that, what is your purpose and what is your mission? What was your mission in your life? What woke you up in the morning? What motivated you? You know, if you knew in the morning, you see, does any one single person just wake up haphazardly and think, you know what, today I don't know what to do. You know, today is just I'm going to do anything. There's something that is pre-planned or pre-stipulated in one's day. For example, you have a job, you need money, you need income. So from this, you wake up in the morning. You might have a school, college, university. You know that your lesson or your lecture is at 9 a.m. and you're going to wake up half an hour, 1 hour before to prepare yourself, to look good, to smell good, to feel good, and then, you know, make your way to your class. Same thing with work. Or you might have a career. You might be self-employed. You might have a business meeting. Something is there at this time. But there are very few people on that day that will say, we woke up for the sake of Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There will be very few people. Sayyidina Abdul Aziz the Bagh has described it that there will be such, the malaika will get tired from finding one person that says Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the next. The angel will become tired. Such is the distance in people. Such is the, you can, you know, like how if you were to walk 20 miles, you might, someone says, all right, we need you to collect some tokens, for example. Or you see in video games, you know, like you might have a mission or there's some objective. Here, you've got one level, there's this here, and you've got to collect this example. Even the Mashaykh explained, the angels will become tired. That from finding one person who says Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the next person to find Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Such is the distance. There the Mashaykh Sayyidina Abdul Aziz the Bagh further elaborated to the point that they actually said that those people who had served those people who said Allah will be made free. You see, not that I am worthy as such, but you know those brothers who bring the water to Hazrat Saab's hands and Hazrat Saab drinks from this water. Once Imam Qais actually gave this example, someone actually brought water for another teacher, Imam Qais, and they mentioned that you do one thing for the person who is in the khidmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you will be given salvation on the day of judgment. And only after many years, almost 10 years plus, when I came across this, did I understand what they had meant, even to such an extent where the salvation would happen. Ask yourself this question: what motivates you? What's waking you up in the morning? Number 2, we're all young here. Even Imran, I know you're young too, mashallah. Even our brother here, he's looking at me thinking I'm actually old. But we're all young in a sense that you're not disabled or you're not ill. You've not got any major illnesses that is restricting who you are or what you're doing. The next question the Malaika will bring forth is that when you were in your youth, how did you spend your time? So the first one was, what woke you up in the morning? Second one was, how did you spend your time? How did you spend this time? And the Mashayikh have explained that those people, when they're in the peak of their power, strong, able, functioning, well fed, time, they've got everything there prevalent to them. How did you spend your time? And how are you spending your time? And Sayyidina Abdul Aziz Dabbagh further goes on to describe this moment when the angels will ask this. And the person, unless that he is able to give a response, he will remain in the state of freezing. Meaning he will remain in a state where Allah halts him. Allah has stopped him from moving. Unless he's able to mention something. Because Allah knows what is in the hearts of people. So Allah enables that at that time. What is in your heart? How did you spend your time? Did you spend your time in ibadah? Did you spend your time in worship? Did you spend your time in dawah? Did you spend your time in the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in zikr, in salah, in charity? How did you spend your time? Only you will know how your time is and how it is being spent. If you are wasting time, maybe it is a time that you change this, your routine, your pattern. I know sometimes it's easier said than done. It's easy for me to sit here and say, yeah, change your life. It's very easy for me to say this. But actually doing it requires thought and commitment and action and willpower. Nothing's going to happen overnight because you're in years and years of bad habit. How can you just step out of that bad habit overnight? Unless you've gone through some type of realization, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has bestowed you with some type of mukashifat, and you've then realized that this life is worthless, and then you go into a state of majzubiyat. Then only will this happen. But most likely, normal people like myself, there has to be some level of struggle. And let me tell you, and let me make you understand another thing. The Mashayikh have always said, why we do not judge people? Why do you not judge people? If I was to ask you, let's ask Brother Zain, what would you answer that question? Why don't you judge people? From your own point of view, there's no right or wrong answer as such.
From my own point of view, I don't judge a person because one thing I realise is that that person could die with Iman, and I might not.
MashaAllah. MashaAllah, that's one answer. That's a very good answer as well. Adam, actually we'll give, Adam, you want to have a go. Why do you think a person should never judge anyone?
Whenever you judge someone, there's always that level of, you think you're better, that's why you're judging them.
So takabbur may come into the person. Arrogance might come into this person. Arrogance is one of the worst of every sin. It's the worst of a sin. When you accuse someone or have arrogance that you are calling the person a Jahannami person. Why? Because the Prophet ﷺ mentions that a person who has atoms weight worth of arrogance will not enter paradise. So there is no middle, or he's in paradise, in between. There's no middle, there's no grey place. It's either one or the other. If he cannot enter paradise, he's only going to go to hell. That is why it is very dangerous to never accuse anyone of having takabbur, or jealousy, or pride. Anything that is unknown to you, do not comment on these matters, because you don't know. It is something that is internal in the person. There's one answer the Mashaykh actually gave why you shouldn't judge a person. These things have answered, but one of the generic answers the Mashaykh have given in this situation, in this particular discourse, they had mentioned why you do not judge a person. Where your struggle, where that person's struggle may be external, your struggles are internal. So it actually falls upon, you see one person leave Ramadan and thinking, and you understand. You see what he is doing outwardly, you are probably doing 20 times worse in privacy internally. Remember, when you're thinking of, oh, he's doing this, he's doing that, think about what you were doing in privacy alone at night. To think about this. That will prevent you from judging this person. You will start to think he's actually better than me. You know, ultimately, when you really deep it enough, you'll think he is actually a better person than I am. I am actually a nobody in that sense. What I do is hypocrisy. What he do, at least, is open. Maybe someone might correct him. Who's going to correct me? I have to correct myself. If it's something internal, if I can't develop enough of a hazuri of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to develop the fear, the khawf, then how can I change? Whereas this person, yes, he might not fear of the public, but at home he may have fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We don't know this. You see, this is why it is a fine line between internal, external, zahiri, batini. There's such a fine line. The third question asked is, what was your means of income? How did you obtain your rizq? You see, the Mashaykh always beautifully put it this way, is that whatever is destined for you, whatever rizq, if you're going to in your entire life have £100,000, you will only receive £100,000. Meaning, I'm talking about monetary wealth. If you want to start talking about wealth, we'll just use it as simple monetary wealth, because it's sometimes very difficult to calculate to businesses and jewelry and etc., diamonds and gold. So we'll just talk about monetary wealth just for understanding purposes. It is not restricted to this in the discourse. What was your means of income? Were you that person when they were struggling, they defrauded somebody, sold drugs, or he went opened off license, sold lottery tickets, alcohol, stuff like this? These simple things, or was it halal means? That even though you would get bare minimum, and it might not even be enough for you to enjoy your wealth, but you did that. You just stuck at that graft. You stuck at this because you understood that this means is halal. And the Mashaykh, Sayyidina Abdul Aziz Dabbagh, described this means of income. They said at this time, those who defrauded, who earned haram income, they will start to feel a fire inside them. They will start to feel a fire inside their stomach. And the fire will start to burn their organs. Bearing in mind, externally they're very cold, but internally there's a fire, and it is burning their spiritual heart, their heart, only till an extent that a person becomes like liquid, and he then freezes into this surface again. Such is the description that they provided, and they said Allah will then re-resurrect him again from nothing. So you've formed to liquid, melted into this liquid, and Allah has reformed you again and put you back into this state. And you will be feeling every part of this punishment. You know, like how they say, you know, I was talking to a couple of friends, and the question just came about, oh, how would you prefer to die? It's a strange question, but it's a true question. You know, some people, I want to die in my sleep. I want to die, you know, with I don't know. People say, someone said they want to get shot because it's quick. You see, it's quick death. And then others were describing, oh, we want to, not like Tupac or 50 Cent, they didn't die, the bullet skidded off their skull. Tupac did die with gun, but some people have survived bullet shots to the head even. So anyway, this topic was being discussed, and some people said, I would hate to be frozen, or I'd hate to burn, or I'd hate to drown, because it has some duration of time of punishment. So you're already scared of punishment, but your life does not reflect that of that person who is fearful of punishment. Because what is a punishment? How can we describe a punishment? It is something that is happening against your will, to some level of discomfort. That is a punishment. You see, if I get a match and start burning my skin, it's going to cause me discomfort. I've done it to my own will, but if someone else does it to me, it just hurts more. Do you know what I mean? Because I have not prepared. You see, the mind is set in a certain way. The spirit, the heart is set in a certain way. So you can imagine this time, this topic's been brought up. I was like, oh, what if we just fall from a high building? Yes, the death, that punishment, the pain stops there. But on the day of judgment, Yawmul Qiyamah, the pain will be felt and experienced and witnessed. You will know about this. It is something you will realize. Number 4 will be brought. The 4th question will be brought. I didn't intend on being this long. Number 4 is that how did you spend your wealth? How did you spend your wealth? At this time, the Mashaykh described for that person who spent it in an unlawful manner, his hands will be made bare to the bone, and there it is described. They mentioned some creature will come, and it will start to chew into his bones and into his flesh, and it will slowly eat away, like some small insect type creature will be placed upon the person, and it will start to eat away all the way up to the arms and up to the head. And Allah will bring the person again back to reality, back to life. Again, something for your own hisab kitab. How do I spend my wealth? You know, am I living a £10,000 life with a £1,000 income, with interest, with loans, with haram, buying drugs, alcohol, etc. These kind of things only will leave a person in misery. You see, this temporal buzz is similar. You know how, I'll just explain to you another thing about how the Mashaykh described this temporal buzz. It's one very old Nasiha, very old bayan I came across. And they said how we can describe that temporal buzz after drinking or smoking. They said it is the same buzz. It's the same, like how they described it. One is enjoyment, one is pain. And they said it's that pain of death. They said such is its shortness. So they almost trying to indicate that this buzz, this enjoyment is like this life. It is very short, it is very temporal, it's a start and there's an end. And there becomes the pain, misery, discomfort again. Number 5, and this will be the make it or break it question for many of us. How much knowledge did you actually put into practice? It's all good and well sitting in majlis, nasiha, bayan, discourse, jamia, madrasa, school, spiritual school, in the presence of the mashayikh. How much did you put into practice? Say you heard you have to pray 5 times a day, just very simple, and you don't. It's very simple. How much did you put into practice? So if we was to summarize what this nasiha is, first and foremost, how much of this hisab kitab are you doing whilst living? And just to end on this final point about how Sayyidina Abdul Aziz the Bag described that when his knowledge, so the angels will cut his mind out. They will open up his mind and they will take his brain out. his brain, his mind will be taken out of his body, and he will be put in front of him, and he will be made to eat his own brain. He'll be one brain, and they said the description is that it will be such of vile taste, like the taste will not be like, when the food of Jahannam and the food of Yawm al-Qiyamah is described, so it'll be worse than this. And when he eats it, each bite he will collapse and he will faint. Because he didn't allow, you see, this is an indication of manifestation, because knowledge or information is only going to stay here. It's only going to stay here. Why the Mashayikh have given us or understood that you will eat it is because there it reaches the belly. There it's manifested. There it's digested. When they say digest it or understand it, because this is how they're showing you that you've not. But these forms of punishment can sometimes act as that this person now, he's done his Hisab Kitab, and Allah knows best what will. They are written, the Mashayikh have told us about how this will happen or what will happen next. So inshallah, when next opportunity comes, I will actually describe what happens further. So inshallah we will end here. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta wa nastaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.